Your wife's Cuban, right?
Yeah.
So the grandparents always like, see, I told you, right? Like you hear that all the time. And like, that's just like a repetitive Cuban thing, which is not, I don't encourage it, like, see, I told you is not a point, but it's just because they don't say it. But guess what? Like, I'll give you an example. I had this kid. Okay. So he was, his name, I'll use his name because he's older now and the parents are very aware. His name was Evan. And Evan was about 5 or 6 years old. And my class would get loud and Evan would just kind of go like tune out and just like this. And I was like, what's going on here? Well, this kid's not paying attention. He's ADD or ADHD. There's got to be something there. Parents don't know it yet. Is he on the spectrum? We don't know. And then I met his mom and the kid was putting shoes on. She goes, Evan! And the kid just shuts out. And I'm like, oh, that's his defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So then I started going like this, Evan, hey, Evan, today I want you to put your hands like this. And he's like, good, I want you to go like this. And he was like, as soon as I talked to him in a slow, quiet pace, he absorbed everything. Because he went to safe space. He learned that pain comes from listening to mom scream. So he had to, like, we had to just, I go, oh, you're doing is you've actually done more harm than good. And your kid does not have a disability. He's just going to his safe space.
Yeah.
He's just being reactive. He's just putting his hands up. Right. So what we had to do is I had to get him, like, it's like, even when I talk to my wife, if I want to tell her, she needs to work on her cooking, I'm not going to say this sucks. She'll never cook for me again. Right. I'll go, oh, babe, I love that. This is so great. I love chicken. Chicken's my favorite. Had a little bit more salt. It'd be great. But man, those peas are unbelievable. That's called PCP, right? We learned that, praise, correct, praise, a compliment sandwich. We learned that how to communicate because we're high level communicators. Most people don't even know that.
Yeah.
So we have to understand, how do I get this one kid to get his hands to drop? How am I communicating to him? Right. So, obviously, all these things are these things that I can experience through the years and kind of learn my kids. Now I can apply it to my own children. Right. And then also say, hey, listen, I could do more harm than good. There's got to be a different way to communicate it to people. For me, I react really well when people are explosive and intense.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking like this, I fall asleep. If you're like, let's go, I'm like, I'm with you. Right? But I'm different, right? So.
Yeah, I struggled a lot when I was, back when I was an enlisted guy. I had a large inability to communicate. I thought I was communicating, but I had zero ability. I had one tone, and that was screaming. And it was enforced by my leadership. Like, they would send me out to go fix the problem children, right? Like, hey, this person's screwing this up, go fix it. So I was the guy who they always send to fix. So it was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go fix it. And I would just start screaming at people,
Lead by force.
I was the NCO that it's Adam, go take care of it. Go take care of the problem. Go take care of the problem. Go fix it. Go fix it. Go fix it. So it was just bred in me to do this stuff. And then, like, now looking at it as a dad, I'm thinking to myself, what am I breeding into my kids? What am I telling my kids about to do? And same thing, like at work, with business stuff. What am I, like, our team members? What am I saying around my team members? How am I saying things around my team members that is enforcing them in a behavior one way, shape, or form? Like I was just pigeonholed into one position in that job, and I felt like an idiot afterwards, being able to look back at it going, boy, what inept. But of course I was 25, 27 years old. Like
I did the same damn thing. So the truth of the matter is, like, you're a man now with experience. Like, the man you were at 24 is not the man you're at 34 or 44. Right. And you have to remember that. So that, and especially because of this, the fact that you continue to grow and learn, and that's it. There's like, it's like your kid goes to a store and takes something, right? All kids will do it, right? I told them, and is this the worst thing in the world? It's a teachable moment.
Yeah.
The best thing that can happen, actually, so I can teach you. My daughter, when she was maybe a year or two ago, we went to Office Max. I had to pick up a thing. She went to pick up a keychain, and I said, no, we can't have it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. We're not, we don't need this. So we go, and then we come home, and she has a keychain on her, And I'm like, there was consequence immediately.
Yeah.
I go back to the store. She has to bring money. She pays for it. The guy's like, you can keep it. Don't worry. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I go, she has to feel pain right now. Like there's got to be a thing here. I go, the worst thing that can happen is she feels no pain because then she's going to know it's okay. I go, we have to understand that, like, if I don't teach her consequence now, right, she won't change later. Like, this is why we do this. So we made a big deal out of it. There's consequence in the moment when you're with a kid. You can't punish a kid, especially at 6, 7 years old at the time, 2 days later for what's happening right now. You got to find it. It's like a dog. We always look at our kids and we think of them as like they're so cute. They're small versions of ourselves, right? But they're more like wild animals. Yeah. Right. And it's the truth, right? Because what we have is they think they're so cute. He says something like us, but they need to understand that they have to be trained, right? And there's got to be reward and consequence, and it's very simple. But when you try to treat, like, I always see like people saying like, no, let him decide. What? You're telling a 5-year-old he has to decide what he wants to do? You want to tell him what he wants for breakfast too? Oh, I want ice cream and waffles. But like, no. And you let him decide if he wants to go to school. That's why, like, you can't let you have to understand, like, things are not going to be fun. Like, for example, like, martial arts is a good example. Eventually, things get tough. And then when the parents let the kid be in charge, guess what? You're having a bad day, you're going to quit. Mm-hmm. But then what happens is, we talked about this earlier, what happens if you quit something repeatedly, you become a quitter. You lie repeatedly, you become a liar. So I go, forget about, you understand, you're training patterns now. Like, you're training patterns. If you better make the decisions, whatever your kid's about to do, is you have to make a clear, concise, like, we're doing this for this long, and then we can reassess at least. Yeah. But you're going to, you're not going to jump around just because you feel a certain way, because your feelings, I've talked about this before, will always get in the way of your blueprint. Always. Yeah. So, like, for example, you don't feel like working today. You don't feel like doing a podcast, but you want to get the ultimate goal was to 100 episodes by a year, whatever it may be. Mm-hmm. I don't feel like working out. I tweak my back. I still got to do it. I'm going to work around it. I mean, what is rehab, right? Like, at the end of the day, your feelings will get in the way of your blueprint. And if you let your feelings dictate that, you'll never finish school. You'll never finish anything, because you're going to start to find a way out of it. You're going to find your way, the easiest route, because, our brain has this, like, default to cutting things to the easiest route. I mean, I don't say the word refrigerator.
Yeah, we say fridge. Yeah.
We say fridge. My brain doesn't want to take that many syllables. Yeah. We always take the easiest route. And it's our nature. So we have to make sure that, like, whatever we're feeling right there, so we're going to have to just make sure that we are in charge of keeping our blueprint in mind of what we ultimately want.
Mm-hmm. I think that needs to be on the parents' part as well, when they're thinking about going back to what you talked about, having that in that moment, making sure they feel the pain of their bad mistake. And I'm not saying it needs to be physical pain, right? Just like you said with money, like you're going back to the store and you're facing what happened, and you're going through it. But as a parent, you also have to be cautious. And it sounds like you're well on that way. So, or you're already doing this. Is you are not making that decision with emotion either, right? You're not letting your kids' emotions run them, but don't let your emotions run you. Because now, if I'm creating that discipline with emotion involved, well, like buddy, I'm only doing this because this is something we have to go through this. If I'm going, you're an absolute, like, I can't believe you're doing this stuff, and now I'm acting out of anger. Well, now I'm teaching a completely different lesson than what my intended lesson was. We need to control our emotions just as much as we want them to control their emotions. And I think as parents, at least I've seen it a lot, is that it doesn't always happen.
Can I give an example?
Oh, please.
So you live by water, right?
Yeah.
So your kids pick up rocks and throw them in the water?
Yeah.
They could do that all day, right?
Yeah.
Fun. You know why? Because the water makes a splash. Mm-hmm. When you react, right, when you're like, a kid does something, you're the splash.
Yeah.
When your kid does something, you need to not be calm as a Hindu cow, just because they're sacred in India, right?
Yep.
Yeah, just so you understood, just to make sure. So we have to be just chill in our reaction, because if you're doing that, they're actually getting a dopamine hit. Like, we understand that, like, and not only that, but to go back to where you are, and my belief on the strap is the same. I'm sure with you as yours right now, just from hearing what you say. If I hit my kid to discipline them, and I've seen this happen over and over again, because I've been teaching for 30 years, that kids that are violent are usually disciplined by violence. Because let's say I hit my daughter because she's not listening, right? When she has a boyfriend and her boyfriend doesn't listen to her, how do we solve problems?
Gotta hit him.
Right?
Yeah, violence is coming.
And we've all know girls like that, right? We all know guys like that. We all know people that have been like, and the reason is it's a learned behavior.